Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for toiling through the rain to get here. So the general theme of the whole class is imaginative understanding on the one hand, or imaginative understanding of each other, and on the other hand, scientific explanation. And these two ideas that we can scientifically explain what's going on and that we can understand it imaginatively really seem to collide when you think about freedom of the will. If you look on human beings scientifically, if you look at the engine beneath the skin, then human beings are machines. We are biological machines, and you should be able to explain and predict everything that we're going to do scientifically. But on the other hand, our imaginative understanding of each other seems to mean that we're free. We can do what we like. We're not constrained by physics to do just certain things. That's the simplest form of the collision between science and imaginative understanding. The science seems to say we're not free. Everything we do is determined. And on the other hand, our imaginative understanding of each other says that very often we're just doing what we like. On Monday, we'll look at A.J. Ayer's article, Freedom and Necessity. That's in the Chalmers collection, Ayer's Freedom and Necessity. That's what we'll look at on Monday. And that's a very good statement of that simple problem about freedom and scientific explanation. Today, though, we're going to carry on looking at Frankfurt's Freedom of the Will and the Concept of a Person, and what that says about the notion we have of freedom, what it takes for someone to be acting freely or willing freely. So there's no lecture on Friday, because I'm away on Friday. Friday, yes, and no office hours on Friday either, for the same reason, if you follow me. Then next week, we just have that one lecture on Monday, and then no lectures on Wednesday or Friday on account of Thanksgiving. Okay? I'll remind you about that. Okay, so many of the people who've written about freedom seem to think that the key to understanding an ordinary picture of freedom is to get it, that there are two kinds of desire, two kinds of intention you can have. And that's what the Frankfurt that we looked at last time is really setting out. The basic problem, really, everything in this class, you can focus in terms of the bats. The problem with the bats is you can have a complete scientific understanding of the bat. You can explain and predict everything it does scientifically. But do bats have free will? The bit that's missed out there, the bit that's missed out of our understanding of the mind, when we say we can't get an imaginative understanding of the bat, that's the locus of free will. That's where you find people's freedom, in the bit that's missed out from our understanding of the bat. But everything to do with explaining and predicting the bat's behavior is already there at the scientific level. So whatever we missed out in not being able to have an imaginative understanding of the bat, that can't be something that makes any difference to what happens. It can't be something that makes any difference at all, because everything was already factored in by the scientific account. Well, a natural reaction to that is to say, well, but still I have free will. My ordinary common sense tells me that I have free will. I intend to do something, and I do it. And I don't believe that Libet stuff. When I intend to do something and I do it, my intention causes me to do it. That's freedom. That's a perfectly natural common sense reaction to that. But if you say, if I intend to do something and then I do it, that's all freedom comes to, then the problem is, what about cases where we have people who are acting intentionally but not freely? And last time we looked at this case of the unwilling addict, someone who is, as we say, enslaved by the drug. They really don't want to take the drug. They are really trying to break out of it, but their desires are captured by the drug. So in that kind of case, we make allowances. We say, maybe that's not your fault. Maybe you've got a disease. Maybe you are simply in thrall to the drug and you're not acting freely. And this is in contrast to someone who says, I just love the drug. The drug is great. I choose the drug. That's someone who's freely choosing the drug. They just like it. They're all for it. But the unwilling addict is someone who we say is not free. And you get cases of that general type again and again. That's a dramatic form. And the natural reaction is to say, well, there's a distinction between two kinds of desire. There's the desires you have that you're just saddled with. You've just got those desires, whether you like it or not. And on the other hand, there are the desires that are properly yours. It's hard to know exactly, and there's a lot of discussion about exactly how you pin down what that means, but there are the desires you get behind. The desires you say, that's me speaking. The desires are for things that you value. In that sense, what the unwilling addict has is a desire for something that he doesn't value. He says, I don't think the drug is good. He says, I wish I did not have this desire. In Frankfurt's terms, it's not a desire that he wants to have. It's not, in some sense, his desire. There are a couple of dramatic examples from Gary Watson here. Consider the case of a woman who has a sudden urge to drown her boiling child in the bath. Or the case of a squash player who, while suffering an ignominious defeat, desires to smash his opponent in the face with a racket. I mean, which of us can say they haven't had that kind of desire? You're having a perfectly ordinary dinner in a restaurant with some people, and at one point all you can think about is putting your hands around the other person's throat. Don't say that anymore. This is a desire, all right. But do you get behind it? Do you say, yes, I value this. This is the kind of desire I choose to have. It's just something that takes you over. Now, usually these things don't lead to action. Life would be very different if they did. But even in those cases, if they do lead to action, if the child carries on bawling just a bit too long, if the mother is just at the end of her tether, then we don't say, that was such a wicked thing you did. We empathize. We say, that must be awful to be in that situation. You take it for granted. That wasn't something, that was a desire of hers. Watson says, it's just false that the mother values her child being drowned. That she's going to, you just take it for granted, that's not so. She's not going to say, well, wouldn't that be great? Or that the player would really value the injury and suffering of the opponent. But people desire these things in spite of themselves. So the problem of free will has to do with the fact that sometimes what you desire most might not be something that you value. And what you value may not be something that you desire. That's the general issue, that there's some distinction to make between the desires that you get behind, the desires that are authentically yours, and the desires that you have, all right, but they aren't desires that you acknowledge or that you endorse as your own. I mean, I think in a small way, maybe this is just me, but I think in a small way, I do that every other day when I'm apologizing. I say, well, I did what I wanted to. You know, it wasn't that I just tripped or something. I didn't want to do that. But when I say I'm sorry, what I'm saying is that desire that I acted on, that wasn't authentically mine. I just get carried away. Something like that. You guys apologize, right? Yeah, something like that is what you say when you're apologizing, right? You say, that wasn't the real me you were saying. I was too tired. I was drunk. Well, maybe that's just me. I was overstressed. I wanted to do it all right, but had I been in full control of things, I wouldn't have done it. You have to be excused for that reason. So I think in just a small way we use that distinction every day. Okay, so that's two types of desire and how that feeds into freedom. So we say that was a limitation on your freedom if you were acting on a desire and the desire wasn't one that was authentically yours. Okay? Plain as day? Okay, good. But then, suppose we just use the word authentic for this. The desires that are authentically yours, the desires that, not just desires that you happen to have, but the ones that reflect the true you. And then loss of freedom is when you're getting these actions that are driven by desires that are not authentically yours. But what does it mean, authentic? How can you tell which of your desires are authentic and which aren't? I mean that as a question. How would you do it? It really seems important in everyday life, thinking which of your desires are authentically yours. Do I really want this? But how do you tell? And it seems practically important just outside this class. It's something that just comes up in real life all the time. They just spring up in your mind and there's an authentic one. Yeah? Whether you're acting on it for yourself or for others. Yeah. That makes it sound like anybody who really tries to help other people is a phony. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, that's right. No, I see that. Well, if it's something that you're doing, not because you originally had the desire, but because someone else is making you do it, is conforming you to their desires. Something like that? Yeah, yeah. I think it is a problem, though, that sometimes you just want to do what other people want. You're being anxious to please. Yeah, that can be authentically you. Yeah. But I see what you mean. Yeah. Anything else? Yeah. Yes, you don't regret it if you follow through it. Yeah. If you smash your opponent with a racket and you say, I'm glad, that felt good. That was authentic. Right. I see that, yeah. That's a pretty good test, I guess. Yeah. If you reflect on it and you feel no regret. Yeah. I mean, I guess the thing is, there are cases where, in these cases, where you do something terrible, but there's going to be a price to pay for that, and you're asking, are you willing to pay the price? There are cases like, I spent my whole life trying to get the department library into shape. Why did I do that? I don't care a bit about the department library. You see what I mean? You might not day to day, in any small scale way, ever feel regret there. You can get trapped into doing something. Your regrets might not be authentic either. You see what I mean? If you really get taken over by someone else, for example, you might only feel regret when they thought you should feel regret. The trouble with it is assuming that the regrets themselves are authentic. Yeah. But it's a good test, I agree. Yeah. I mean, people in the literature say something like the desires I value, they're connected to what both of you are saying. The desires I value, the desires I ought to have. Or Frankfurt's formulation, the desires that you want to have. The trouble is, well, one problem is, if you just think about what desires ought I to have, you look at Mother Teresa and you say, wow, that's the way to be. I'm going to be like that. If you just think in terms of the desires you ought to have, then maybe you think you ought to have those desires, but that may have no connection to the way you really are. If you over-intellectualize that kind of exercise, if you just intellectually think in an abstract kind of way, what motivations ought I to have, and then try and conform yourself to that, that may leave you a million miles away from anything that you describe as an authentic motivation. You're kind of like the Great Gatsby or something like that. You're taking on a set of motivations off the peg, thinking these are what I ought to be driven by, and trying to hang them on yourself. So how do you know which desires you ought to have? I mean, how could you decide it? I mean, that's really a basic question for everyone just living their life, how you do that. I mean, Frankfurt only considers the possibility that you might not have the first order desires you would like to have. That's the addict. That's anyone who's, say, vulnerable to attacks of rage that they do regret afterwards. And then you have all these desires that aren't the ones you want to have. That's a kind of estrangement from yourself. But it would also be possible to be estranged from yourself in the sense that even your desires as to what you would like to desire, even these are leaving you estranged from yourself. And if I just read about somebody in a book and think, yes, that's how I should be, how could that be authentic? But then how do you get second-order desires or valuing that do reflect the real you? And the question is, where do the second-order desires come from? How do you know what second-order desires to have? We can say, this was the picture we had last time, we can say there are the desires that your steersman there is controlling you to have. You can try to make yourself have certain make yourself have certain first-order desires. You steer your desires. That's freedom of will. But where does that come from? What map are you using? How do you know which second-order desires to have? I was reading about John McCain as a prisoner of war and all that stuff. There's that case where you want to be courageous. That's maybe the defining characteristic of your life. You want to live courageously. You don't want to act out of fear. But then you're taken prisoner during a war, and they beat it out of you. They force you to sign a confession. Now nobody says, surely nobody says, now we see the real John McCain. You were beaten for 3 weeks and you cracked and you signed that. Now we see the real you. You're not brave at all. We don't say that. We say, that wasn't you acting freely. That was you being forced to have desires that you didn't want to have. But suppose it went on. Suppose you were really reduced to a much more abject condition. Suppose they reduced you to the state where all you wanted in life was to please your captors. Then that would be like that last comment there, that someone else has completely taken charge of you. Even your second order desires, how you're steering yourself, is completely in the grip of someone else. They're determining what desires you're going to desire to have. Would you then be acting of your own free will if you signed the confessions? I mean, that seems crazy. We can't say, well, if you've got a second order desire to have the desire, that's one of yours. So if you're acting of your own free will if you act from that desire. You see what I mean? That's a natural thing to say. The desires that you desire to have, they're the ones that represent your free will. Does that make sense? If you desire to have that desire, that's not like the addict, or not like the first scenario here. You've got a desire that you didn't desire to have. But then, if the thing goes on, so you desire to have this desire, that doesn't make this desire the desire to sign the confession or whatever. That doesn't make that something that's one of your authentic desires just because you wanted to have it. You see what I mean? Put up your hands if that makes perfect sense. I can't tell if I'm taking too long on this. I'm going at it too quickly. Put up your hands if that makes perfect sense. And if that doesn't quite make sense, can you articulate that puzzlement? So when you think about the unwilling addict, right? You think here's the addict who's got the desire for the drug, but they don't have a desire. They don't desire that desire. They don't desire that desire, right? So we say that's not really your desire. We'll be sympathetic if you act from this desire. Put up your hands if that makes sense. Okay, so that's one of these desires you're not getting behind. Okay, and that's what's going on when you're beaten and you sign the confession. You desire to sign the confession. That wasn't the thing you wanted, the desire you wanted to have. Your whole ambition was not to have that kind of desire. But then we suppose it goes further, so that people are making it so that, no, you do now get to that condition. You're not standing behind that desire. That still doesn't make it free. Yep. Yep. No, that's very good. I think that's right. But I'm thinking here of something more dramatic. Someone who's just arbitrarily treated so badly over such a long period of time that his main desire now is just to keep the commandant happy. Something like that, yeah. So it's something much more, something even more dramatic, something even worse, where you're just reduced to this condition of desiring to have the desires that will please your captors. So in that case, even if you got behind the desire to sign the confession, if that was the situation, well, you're getting behind this desire, all right, but we're not going to say that's you acting out of your own free will. You see what I mean? The idea was originally you say, but you didn't stand behind that desire. That was like the unwilling addict. He just had this desire that overmastered him. And as you say, the desire not to get beaten might be coming, the desire not to get beaten. That desire not to get beaten might be coming in here and generating that desire against his better judgment. Yeah? And we say that's why he's not free, because he had his better judgment. But now what we do is we affect the better judgment so that this does now underwrite this. But that doesn't make it free. And that shows that there's something missing from the original analysis of why he wasn't free. Do you see what I mean? Yep. Yep. The desire has to come from your own volitions, yes. Perfect, right. Okay, you're way ahead of me, yeah. So the question is, when you say the desire, you mean this desire? Yeah. So this desire has to come from your own volitions. Yeah. I think that's great. Something like that must be right. That's what you want to say. That wasn't the real person there that this was happening to. But how do you explain this? What are volitions? Are volitions like third order desires? You know, volitions desires to have desires to have desires. Yes. Well, I mean, the question, I think what you're saying is right, because in the prisoner case, these are desires to please the commandant. These aren't coming from you; they're coming from someone else. So what you said was they're coming from your own volitions. I think something like that must be right. But the question is, what's that? What are these volitions? Are these desires to have desires to have desires? You see what I mean? Or what are they? Where do they come from? So that's inherent. Yeah. Well, I think it is important because when people say, people feel this really very deeply. I think in real life, you think, look, my parents made me want to do this. My parents made me want to go into medicine. My parents made me want to go into philosophy. Very, very unusual parents. In my heart, I didn't want this thing. Yeah, but they just made me do it. I've been living a lie. Yeah, people really feel that. Yeah, but then that's asking, where did these volitions come from? If that's the other way you can think of it is, my parents made me who I am. There's no more real me than the me that my parents made. You see what I mean? People really puzzle over this, trying to agonize over this, trying to grasp what they really want. Yeah, and part of it is that question of where did this come from? What is it? How do you think of that? Yeah. So I think this is important for everyone in these confusing questions that we ask in everyday life. Yeah? Where did the volitions come from? How are you thinking about those volitions?